You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 26, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Plan Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening to the Michigan City Plan Commission regular meeting. This is Tuesday, March 26, 2024. And we're beginning our meeting at 6 o'clock here. And we'll ask Skylar, the first item of the agenda, to call order. The roll call.
I'll call the roll call. Mr. Balling?
Here.
Mr. Connolly?
Here.
Mr. Dabney?
Present.
Mr. D. Medici?
Here.
Pronounce it one more time for me. De Medici. Got it. De Medici. That's way better. De Medici here. Mr. Granquist?
Here.
Mr. Hoffman?
Here.
Mr. Klender?
Here.
Miss Tejeda?
Here.
Mr. Warner?
Present.
And Mr. Hale, Attorney Hale?
Present.
We have a quorum.
And welcome to the meeting. We're happy to have everybody here in person and online. And we'll just, for the first meeting this year, we'll read the policy of conduct and procedures for the Michigan City Plan Commission. It states that the commission is composed of 9 members. By statute, 5 must vote affirmatively to approve a petition. Thus, whenever less than a full commission is present, the petitioner may choose to continue the hearing. We do have a full quorum here tonight. Anyone wishing to speak on a petition or to the commission in general at the end of the meeting may do so in person by approaching the speaker's roster and stating your name and address. Or if on the Zoom connection, when we have a Zoom meeting, by indicating your presence online and stating your name and address. Comments should be addressed to the Plan Commission and not to a petitioner or remonstrator or others in the audience. The Plan Commission vote is based on the evidence presented. And with that, we have the agenda presented. Is there a motion to approve or revise the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second.
Call for the vote. Mr. Balling?
Yes.
Mr. Connolly?
Yes.
Mr. Dabney?
Aye.
I'm going to try this one more time, Bruce. Please forgive me. De Medici. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Yes, De Medici. Mr. Granquist?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Affirmative.
Mr. Klender?
Yes.
Miss Tejeda?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Motion approved.
We've been presented a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. Is there a motion to approve or revise the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second. Call for the vote. Mr. Balling?
Yes.
Mr. Connolly?
Yes.
Mr. Dabney?
Aye.
Mr. De Medici? Aye. Mr. Granquist?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Klender?
Yes.
Miss Tejeda?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Aye.
Motion approved.
And at long last, we have a petition. So we're happy to have a petition and something's happening here in the community. We do have a petition, petition number P100-24. MCH2 Realty LLC is requesting a rezoning from a B2/R3A general commercial low-rise multifamily residential zoning classification to a B3 highway commercial classification to allow for an auto sales dealership at the address 625 East US Highway 20 in Michigan City. We have the petition presented, and first I would ask our attorney for verification of publication and proper notice that we're properly on the agenda for tonight, that we can move forward with this petition.
Mr. President, earlier this week, and again today, I had an opportunity to review the notification documents provided by the petitioner. They were full, complete, and well organized, and you're free to go forward. The petitioner has met all the requirements of our notification.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Hale.
Was the microphone on when he was speaking to that end up?
John, you can't hear you because you're always looking for the board members.
Okay. Then moving forward, Mr. York, would you please present the petition? And
Would you like for me to read staff, or do you want to hear the petitioner? I believe they're going to be represented by Mr. Dan Bowditch tonight.
Okay.
And would you like to make a presentation for us? Tell us a little bit
well,
about.
please go ahead.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission, Mr. President, and to Attorney Hale and Schuyler's, the Planning Director. The petition before you this evening and with me tonight is John Eberly, representing the company that is interested in purchasing the property and has a contract option for the property to purchase, assuming the petition is approved. The parcel is a 7.74 acre parcel of land at 625 US Highway 20. I'm going to be brief. It's all in the application. The corridor currently consists of a number of auto dealerships and auto-related service facilities. The project that is comprehended for this site, which is currently a vacant U-Haul auto repair building structure that it's dilapidated, it's been vacant for years. The site is underdeveloped and substandard. So it's currently Zone B2 for general commercial and R3A multifamily residential. So the property itself is bifurcated in its zoning, which is unusual, but it does happen on occasion. And the request is for the Plan Commission on behalf of the petitioner to rezone the property to B3 Highway Commercial District, which would allow for as a use in the zoning ordinance, would allow for a permitted use of an auto sales facility related to service and auto sales. The way it is zoned for B2 general commercial and auto sales service facility would be allowed as a special exception. So it's to somewhat clean up and have the property be identified as one zoning classification, as well as allow for the permitted use rather than having to go through the Board of Zoning Appeals process at this time if necessary. The property, if rezoned, would promote better and facilitate the development, better use of the corridor. The intent after review of your comprehensive plan is for the corridor to be more related to auto service related uses. So it would promote and facilitate that development, as well as preserve the property values and the environmental uses in the surrounding commercial corridor. There is some wetlands that are on the property. The concept plan that is comprehended and is presented takes into consideration two options: to be sensitive to that environmental wetland area and any other environmental issues that may occur. I do want to bring up and provide for John to give you just a quick overview, if it's okay with the Plan Commission, of the project itself. You know, just square footages, this and other information that may be available.
Good evening, folks, and thank you for allowing us to be here. If you have any particular questions about the proposed auto dealership, I'd be happy to answer them.
Please give us your name, please.
John Eberly.
Also, tell us just a little bit about it. You don't have to disclose. I mean, yeah, just tell us a little bit about like what's going there, what's happening. It's a brand new dealership, et cetera, et cetera.
So, yes, what we intend to do is obviously demolish the existing buildings and really rebuild the site from scratch. So the new concept Hyundai dealerships, which is a national standard for Hyundai, we would basically build a brand new ground up store. And obviously landscape the site with all of the latest Michigan City requirements, try to beautify the site as much as possible. And, you know, essentially, for lack of a better way to say it, just bring a shiny new auto dealership to what is now a, you know, a dilapidated site. So we operate the Kia dealership across the street, and then the older Hyundai facility, which is kind of a retrofit, a few miles, I think it's to the east. Yes. So we would be vacating that space and remaking that into something else, if we were permitted by you folks to build the new Hyundai dealership. Oh, yeah, I mean, I could run down some things. I just didn't know if you had any questions. So it'll be roughly about 16,000 square feet. We are aiming for a building orientation north to south, but that remains to be seen as far as working with Skylar and his team and the folks at Hyundai as far as what the best layout is. It's a one-story facility, anticipated about 20 to 25 feet high. Number of parking stalls right now is somewhere in the 150 to 200 range. The ingress egress is already established on Highway 20. The general intent for signage would be Hyundai's new standard sign, I think, is about 18 to 20 feet high. It doesn't really call for any sort of moving words or like a display board. General hours of operation, like typical with a car dealership, are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., shorter hours on Saturday. I don't know anything about if we'd operate on Sunday or not. I'd have to get more information on that. Landscaping of the property, as I alluded to earlier, would be whatever the city's requirements are. We are happy to beautify the site as much as possible. We think that, you know, not only helps our business, but it would also obviously be a nice addition to the city as well. Wetland sensitivity, we are making absolutely no impact on the existing wetlands at this time. We intend to leave that in its natural state, leave as much of the wooded area that is currently on the site, leave that intact, and really just essentially use what is high and dry at this time for construction. So, number of jobs created in a facility of that size is anywhere from 40 right off the bat to 70 as the dealership gets rolling a little bit down the road. So.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners?
I have one question, and you'll forgive me because don't even know what I'm talking about here. Did you have to interact with the Indiana the EPA in connection with coming close to the wetlands?
Yeah, so we don't intend to come close to the wetlands. We actually intend to stay even beyond the prescribed buffer zones by the Army Corps of Engineer. And we did do a preliminary meeting with the Army Corps of Engineer. We did a preliminary meeting with IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And it's everybody's belief that as long as we stay outside of the buffer zone for the wetlands, that they have no jurisdiction over that, or they don't wish to take jurisdiction as long as there's no environmental impact to the wetlands. So we actually do, there's a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. It's called a Nationwide Permit 39. And under Nationwide Permit 39, you can impact up to a half acre of wetlands in conjunction with working with the Army Corps and IDEM. So we have the possibility to do it, although we don't have any intention to do it. But I just wanted to make that known that it isn't the type of site where the wetlands are deemed pristine and or, can't be impacted under any circumstances. We just don't think it is advantageous to our business to impact the wetlands at this time because we have enough high and dry land to make the dealership work.
Yeah, approximately how much of that 7 acres or 7.8 acres is wetland?
So it's really almost split. It's like 3.27 something is the dry part, and then I'd have to get my phone out to get the calculator, sir. About 3.5 is the. So if I could just describe that for you, to the very east of the dry portion of the land is a crescent-shaped wetland that's a little under a half an acre. And that would be the only one that anyone would try to impact in the future because it more or less fronts the road and it's a low quality wetland. In the southern part of the site, there are some depressions that are dispersed throughout the site, which we would suggest nobody ever tries to impact because, you know, there's a bunch of them and they do collect a decent amount of water, even though they're not considered pristine. So, you know, that will always be a wetland area to the south of the dry portion of the land.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay. Scott, do you want to give your report then before we open it up to the public comment?
Yes, Mr. President. This is a
Thank you, folks.
this is a report for the Michigan City Plan Commission for case P-100-24. Location is 625 East US Highway 20, and it's a rezoning petition. The request rezoning of property from B2 General Commercial to R3A multifamily residential to 1 B3 Highway Commercial Zone District. Staff analysis, the property in question is approximately 7.74 acres of land and currently zoned B2 General Commercial and R3A multifamily residential. According to Indiana Code 36-7-4-603, in considering a request for a rezoning, the Plan Commission shall pay reasonable regard to 1, the comprehensive plan, which is MC 2040 comprehensive plan and the county land development plan. 2, current conditions and character of current structures and uses in each district. 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. 4, the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. And 5, responsible development and growth. Staff makes the following findings. 1, that the petition concerns a request for a rezone of approximately 7.74 acres of land. 2, that the real estate consists of approximately 7.74 acres. And 3, that the real estate is currently zoned as B2 General Commercial and R3A multifamily residential. And 4, that the petitioner requests that the real estate be rezoned to B3 Highway Commercial District. And 5, that the requested change in zoning will be consistent with the Michigan City Comprehensive Plan, which labels this property as future auto urban general commercial. And 6, that the requested change in zoning will be compatible with the conditions and character of current structures and uses along US Highway 20. And that 7, that the requested change in zoning will provide for the most reasonable uses of for which the real estate is adapted, and the proposed land use will not have an adverse effect on surrounding property. And 8, that the requested change in zoning will not be injurious or detrimental to the surrounding property values and will further the conservation of property values throughout the US Highway 20 corridor. And that 9, that the requested change in zoning will promote orderly and responsible community growth and development and will not adversely affect the community. And 10, that the real estate, as well as the location in the area of predominantly highway commercial uses and zoning, are suitable for the proposed use and zoning change. And 11, that the requested change in zoning is not spot zoning, which will confer a special benefit on a relatively small tract small tract of land without commensurate benefit to the community. And 12, that the requested change in zoning will not disrupt or destroy any neighborhood or corridor plan. And that 13, that the requested change in zoning will better promote and facilitate the development of the real estate and the preservation of property values, environment, and uses in the surrounding commercial corridor. And that 14, furthermore, this location is close to other auto cell uses in close proximity along the same commercial corridor. I'm going to pause right there and go back and read my notes under number 5, which, if you read that in the future land use, this is described as an auto urban general commercial. This character type is most commonly associated with a highway-oriented commercial or business strip, fast food restaurants, gas stations, and strip shopping centers like those found along South Franklin Street, US Highway 421, Michigan Boulevard, and US Highway 20, and the dominant commercial image of an auto urban character. This is an excerpt from our 2040 comprehensive plan, which this specific site is called out to be auto urban general commercial. And then I'm going to read the excerpt underneath 11, which I think is something to pay particular attention to, that this is not spot zoning. Had we been asking for a M1 at this location or say an R1 at this location, I would say that would probably can be consistent with spot zoning. But what we're asking for here is consistent with the nature of the B2 zoning district that exists right now. It's just we're asking for a B3, and I'll go into that more. So the B3 Highway Commercial District does not confer special benefit to the tract of land. The zoning is still a commercial zoning district, still in character with the surrounding zoning districts, and has less uses than other commercial zoning districts, such as the B2 zoning district that is currently zoned. What I mean there is that actually B3 is, you would think that it would be more allowable uses, but actually it's more restrictive on uses. Although an auto dealership is allowed there are many other uses that are not allowed there. So in my thought, that actually kind of, you're asked why we do a B3 there. Well, that makes sense because we're actually kind of protecting and preserving a little bit more of that community around there, making sure we're not allowing any heavier uses in there, I would say. I would also add in, I'll make my recommendation in a minute. With respect to the wetlands, I know we talked a lot about that. This lot is a unique lot in that the wetlands offer a great buffer opportunity. We talk a lot about that in Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, buffering between uses. These two wetlands that are identified here and the trees and things like that, you're going to get a much better buffer than putting a fence up or something like that. So I commend you guys for keeping the wetlands intact and not trying to. You could probably mitigate them, but I appreciate you not doing that. It actually offers up a really great buffer between uses. So thank you. Staff recommendation. Planning staff has reviewed the proposed request for zoning or the rezoning and recommends forwarding the petition P-100-21 requesting rezoning of 625 East US Highway 20 from B2 commercial and R3A multifamily residential to B3 highway commercial to the Common Council with a favorable recommendation. And I'll entertain any questions if I know that was a lot.
Any questions of Mr. York planning report from the commissioners?
Excuse me, Skylar, but how much of this total area is the multifamily residential?
So, excellent question, Fred. Pretty much this whole back end where this wetland is right here is where the multifamily is right now located. Am I describing that correctly, John? I would say.
Actually, I don't know. I looked at it one time and I know that it's two different zoning.
Please come.
Sorry, I believe I've only seen that one time and I know it's two different zoning classifications and I think the multifamily is to the south, but I don't know how far it goes back to the south.
Give me a second.
Doesn't make much difference.
No, that's a good question. Actually, when we started talking about this location for this use, the wetlands, when it was presented, made sense to keep it there because even though we're rezoning what is zoned R3A and it abuts another R3A, it makes sense that it won't be touched. You'll have a buffer there, a large buffer actually, probably better than anything you could build there with respect to you have a wetland there that can't be touched. So let me get that brought up here. Yeah, I don't know if I have the zoning there. Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Give me a second here, put my bearings in. Oh man, you may have to help me here. Yeah. Right there. So it's pretty much this back half Fred, if I could show it to you.
Fingertips. Just one last question that just occurred to me. Is there any sensibility about whether if you improve the property as you suggest that it does, that that's going to drive water toward residential areas that could be a problem for them?
No, in any developed site plan, there would be the adequate detention on the site, and the detention itself also does not impact the wetland. So all the stormwater would be drained into the detention area and not into Michigan City's stormwater management system.
Thank you. Good question.
And Skylar, will you summarize the report of all of this departments
Oh, yeah, excellent.
and
Thank
mention
you for-
that there's been no objection that way?
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me, Mr. President. Yes, so the water department, the Department of Waterworks has no issues with the rezoning request. The fire department has no issues with the request. The city engineer takes no exceptions to the requested rezoning or use of the property. The sanitation district takes no exception to the request and rezoning of the proposed future use of the property. Mr. DeMedici, also at a time when we go through development review, they will have to have their calculations for stormwater management and all those things. We're just not there yet. They'll have to get that approved by the sanitary district, just a little bit more.
Thanks. Yeah.
Petition tonight is simply for rezoning, but as they get into the construction part of it, they'll have to comply with all the departmental requirements for sanitation, fire, and everything that way when they get there. Attorney Hale, present your report before we open up for public comment questions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. My attorney report is for petition number P-100-24. Petitioners, applicants are MCH2 Realty LLC, and the owner is JH Indiana Development LLC. As noted, the request is for rezoning, and the location is at 625 East US Highway 20. As I indicated earlier, I've had a chance to review the notification documents. They're in order, and the petitioner complies with our requirements. You'll also notice in my written report, which you have in front of you and which I sent earlier, I've always tried to list all of the documents that the petitioner has submitted and that are developed during our hearing here tonight. And the purpose for that is just to make sure that we have a record of that going forward. So I would just note that in addition to the documents that I listed, the petitioner has provided recently the notice documents, and I would just indicate to you all that we also have an affidavit of service, petitioner's proposed notice, the affidavit of publication, also called a publisher's affidavit, and the mailing documentation, slips and green cards and so forth. So that should be added as part of the record in this matter. Because this is the first rezone we've had in a while, we have a few new members. I would just indicate to you that Indiana statute permits the owners of property to initiate a change of zoning before this body. They provide a petition, and these petitioners have, as their first step, petitioned the Michigan City Plan Commission to rezone this property. You're familiar with that. However, I want to make it clear that it is not this body that changes the prior zoning designation, which is done by city ordinance, and create a new ordinance. You do not have the power to create a new ordinance. That is done by the Common Council. Your function in this process is to consider this matter and send it on to the city common council with either a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation or no recommendation. And then the city common council takes the matter up and they pass an ordinance that does or does not change the zoning. You are required to follow certain procedures that are set out in both state statute and our zoning ordinance. And they include principally conducting a public hearing, which what we are doing at this very moment, certify the proposed changes in the zoning following public comment on the question at hand, that is the rezoning consideration, and then sending it on by certification to the Common Council. Mr. York did a very adequate job in telling you what you are required to consider. They were put forth in his report. I believe it was 11, perhaps 12 different matters that you are, according to statute, pay reasonable regard to. And those are the standards that you are to consider. They're in Mr. York's report. They're also set out in my report in writing. Finally, I would just note to you that a proper motion, if it were to approve this matter, should contain or include a reference to approval of Mr. York's findings, which he listed those in his report as findings that would support the decision that you make if it's favorable. If it's unfavorable, you needn't bother with approving any finding. Finally, following this matter will be sent forth to the Common Council. Whatever decision you make will be included in what is forwarded to the Common Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Hale. Do commissioners have any questions from Attorney Hale or Mr. York before we open it up? Any final thoughts or reports, Mr. York?
I don't have any right now. Maybe after public comment, if anyone has any thoughts, just let me know.
Thank you. You can have a seat there. Then we'll open it up to the public that are present in person here. When we're finished here, we'll check online if anybody's online. Please state your name and address, please.
Tommy Kolovic, 1316 Ohio Street. I certainly don't have any problem with another auto dealership going on the US 20 corridor. I'm sure all the Purdue people can tell you. Just go down to Lafayette and drive Sagamore Parkway. The whole strip there is nothing but there's only one Bob Rohrman car dealerships. Now, I know this is the question and answer session, but, you know, if I was a plan commission, here's the questions I would be asking. Did the petitioner have a purchase agreement with the current owner? How much earnest money they put down? When's the closing date going to be? My major concern with this, I put this address in the LaPorte County Beacon website. The current owner is currently $11,610 delinquent in paying their LaPorte County property taxes. You know, it'd be my recommendation to hold off on granting this petition, maybe another month until they actually take ownership of the property and get this tax debt paid off. You know, I feel that we're going to end up with another 100 Washington situation where the redevelopment commission was in negotiations to have the old train station turned into condominium units, but it all ended up falling through because the developer never owned the property, and that's all type in a lawsuit right now. So I think we need to go that way with this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the public present in the room in person? Please step up, state your name and address.
Hello, Board. Scott Mellenturner, Kenwood Place. I strongly support this rezoning as the highest and best use of the property. It's contiguous with other auto dealerships. It seemed to be a good use of the property. I'm heartened to hear that it's going to only develop approximately half of the acreage, leaving a nice buffer to the properties behind it. It also abuts a mini storage warehouse facility. So it seems to fit the right thing. Typically in a commercial sale like this, the purchase contract is contingent on the zoning variance. Otherwise, there is no contract. And those taxes would get paid at closing, I'm sure. That's very common in this. It would be good to know how secure this is, if his financing's lined up, and how certain this project is to go forth. But I support it as a good use of the property. We have kind of a dealer's row going on there, and that definitely fits the thing. And I welcome another multi-million-dollar facility, a development in this city, and 40 to 70 jobs and a shiny new auto dealership. I think I would recommend you approve this. And anything we can do to facilitate the approval process, this is the first step. That's go to the Common Council and Skylar's department. But if they could break ground this year, he'd probably want to. If there's anything we could do to facilitate that, I would also encourage us to try to do that. Last point, I don't think we have a dark sky ordinance here about lighting, but if we could be sensitive to light pollution, I think that would be something very much appreciated by the citizens of Michigan City. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment in person here in the meeting room? Are there anybody online? Nobody's online. No comments. Last call for public comment. Any public comment? Okay, we'll close the public comment time there. And then any further comments from the commissioners or Mr. York or Attorney Hale before we ask for a motion?
If I may, I just like to speak up that what I've, the folks that had the public comments, that to my mind mitigates in favor of approving the request, because a title company is not going to pass title until the property taxes are paid. So I'm ecstatic to hear about there will be a mechanism for getting those property taxes paid. And also my sensibility is, while I have no opinion that you're not able to close on it, but my sensibility is that the zoning variance that we're discussing would simply facilitate another party coming in and conducting the same purpose. And again, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not assuming you cannot close, but I just mean speculatively, it just seems like the right purpose for this and moves it ahead, gets rid of an eyesore. And again, to return to the first point, thumbs up on property taxes getting paid.
Well, thank you, sir. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank both gentlemen for investing the time to come out tonight and state their comments. We work obviously with the property owner, who we don't know. We know their broker. We work through our broker. We've had a purchase and sale agreement in place since, I think, late October, early November of 2023. And obviously the purpose of this meeting is for us to hopefully have you folks, weigh favorably on the rezone petition so that we can close on the property. And of course, property taxes will be paid, and we'll do everything we're supposed to do to operate an auto dealership. We have, tens of thousands of dollars and thousands of man hours invested. I have 27,000 calls into Skylar York, which he was kind enough to return. And Dan Bowditch has done a wonderful job for us. So, we just hope to increase our presence in the community and do whatever necessary to be a good citizen in the community.
And the only other addendum is that 100 Washington has substantial material distinctions from what's occurring here. So that isn't really a germane comparison as to a concern.
Thank you.
Thank you again, folks.
And as we mentioned at the meeting last month, that it does take time. There's a lead time for all of this. So by the time a petitioner obtains rights to the property and does all the development, research, and works with the planning department, all that is in place before it comes to the commission here for review, public hearing, and vote. About this time, we could call for a motion if someone has a motion to regarding the petition.
I'll submit a motion.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Support.
Second?
May I ask, does that motion include sending it to the city council with a particular recommendation?
Oh, now he's outed my inexperience. Well, yes.
Yeah, well, to include a favorable recommendation, including the findings of
Yeah.
fact.
Yes.
That would be a favorable recommendation.
Yes.
Yes. And to include the findings of fact presented by the staff
Yes.
and the second to that. And then we'll have a call for vote.
Second.
I second. I
Mr.
say
York.
we'll move forward on this petition.
So yeah, roll call.
We'll do the roll call. Mr. York?
Mr. Balling,
Yes.
Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Dominici. I'm gonna get the name right.
Yes, sir.
Di Medici,
Yes.
Mr. Granquist,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Klender,
Yes.
Miss Tieta,
Yes.
Mr. Werner.
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you. So it'll go to Common Council. We'll try to get it on the next meeting. There's some things we have to do. And I'll talk with their administrative assistant tomorrow and we'll be in contact. So thank you.
Just real quick comment, when that goes up to the council, eventually I will sponsor.
I wasn't gonna put you on the spot tonight, but yeah, okay. Thanks.
That's all right.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Dabney is our liaison from the Common Council, so we appreciate that. Thank you, petitioners.
Thank you again for your consideration.
Good luck.
Thank you for the public for your comments. We'll move on to the next item of business. On our agenda is Plan Commission appointment to the Urban Enterprise Association.
Yes, we do have an appointment to the Urban Enterprise Zone that is up right now. What used to be Mr. Zimmer. Mr. Zimmer has left this board for other positions in our city on other boards where he is needed. And we have an open position for the Urban Enterprise Zone. So we need to nominate or I guess appoint somebody who would like to serve on that board.
So we'll open up for any nominations.
I'd like to nominate Dan Granquist for the Urban Enterprise Association.
Any other nominations?
I'll nominate myself if I may.
Any other nominations? And we'll have a motion.
Yeah, excuse me, quickly, do we need seconds of nominations here and on the council? Whenever we nominate, we always take seconds on nominations.
A nomination needs to be seconded.
Okay, then we'll, is there a second to the first nomination?
I support that.
Second for Dan Quist.
Okay. Motion to nominate and second. Is there a second to the second nomination?
For Mr. Domenici.
Medici.
Did I get it?
Mr. Domenici.
I've been listening to Skylar all night. I'm good to go now. So I support that nomination.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close the nominations?
I'll make a motion to close the nominations.
So,
I'll second.
Okay, so I'll call for a motion to close the nominations first. Mr. Balling,
Yes.
Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Di Medici,
Yes.
Mr. Granquist,
yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Klender,
Yes.
Miss Tieta,
Yes.
and Mr. Werner.
Aye.
Got it. Okay, motion approved. And then do I call for each one of them? Oh, we handle that. So two separate votes?
I think that would be the best way, Mr. President. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to give me 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote for Mr. Granquist first. Mr. Balling?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going down and calling everybody because when we get
Figure out how to do this.
when we get to we just call a name and they'll say who they're voting for. That's how we always do it.
That's what I was
'Cause
thinking.
it seems a little awkward to me.
Yeah. That's why I was kind of looking
It's
for.
like you'll say Mr. Dabney and I'll say the Medici or Granquist.
Got it.
You know,
I think
and
that's
then
what
we'll
we should do.
That seems to be a better.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead with that procedure.
Yeah.
Please don't confuse me
Okay.
anymore.
Yeah. No, you're right. I'm like, okay. I think this is how we.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start with Mr. Balling,
Mr. Rehnquist,
Mr. Connolly,
Bruce,
Mr. Di Medici,
I'll vote for myself.
Mr. Dabney,
Domenici.
Mr. Granquist,
Myself, Granquist.
Mr. Hoffman,
Mr. Domenici,
Mr. Klender,
Mr. Granquist,
Miss Tieta,
Mr. Granquist,
Mr. Warner,
Domenici,
Two, three, four. Mr. Bruce, you got it. Yep. 5-4.
Congratulations, Mr. Domenici.
I'm gonna get this name right. Like, so decision. No, I don't know why that's so complicated to say.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comments to the commission. Are there any public comments?
I'll get him the information.
Hi, this is Tommy Kolovic. First, I want to congratulate the Plan Commission. I think this is the first petition we've had since July, so we've actually had some business going on. And just remember, people don't plan to fail; they just fail to plan.
Any other public comment in general to the commission?
Yes, hello, Scott Mellon, 200 Kenwood Place. I forgot on my comment for them. I believe part of that facility was a Buick dealership in the past, if I'm not mistaken. So Oldsmobile, it was Milt's place. Basically, it was Milt. So it was a car dealership in the past. And last point is, I believe auto dealers are amongst the top taxpayers in the county, sales tax. I don't know if we get any of that as a city, but it can't hurt, right? So anyway, again, I appreciate your passing that to the Common Council with your recommendation of approval. Thank you.
Any other public comments in person? Is there anybody, nobody's online? No comments online. We'll close the public comments then. Moving on to commissioner comments. Start at the right with Mr. Warner. Any comments, and move down if you have any comments or thoughts?
I have no comment at this time. Thank you.
No comment, thank you.
Ditto.
No comments.
good job, Skylar and your team. And hopefully we have some more business coming through.
no comment.
No comment tonight.
Comments, none.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all commissioners for your participation. Thank you to the petitioners and Mr. Attorney Hale and Mr. York. Thank you for your assistance with the petition tonight. And we will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.